because I'm always mindful of, like, okay, the worst someone can say is this, and I know I was on, you know, speaking on this podcast, but I don't want to talk about anything, and that's cool. Do you know what I mean? It's not a problem, but like we just thought, you know, because like I don't know, it's a loss. Obviously, we can't relate to it like in the sense of losing what it's like to lose a sibling, but you know, but I can imagine it's like, well, yeah, tough. It's tough, isn't it?
It's always going to be tough though.
Like,
just with grief in general, losing people is always tough, and it affects different people in different ways. So, yeah.
I mean, because your loss was quite. I mean, you were quite young.
Yeah, I was
like
9.
Do you like? I mean, can I talk? Like, do you kind of remember like how you even processed it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the day. I feel like it was such a long time ago because it's going to be 18 years in July.
Okay.
So it was a it feels, well, it sounds like a long time ago, but it's a memory that I, you know, remember very, very well. I was very young. I don't think I really understood the concept of death. I didn't really, really understand. I mean, I knew what death was, but I didn't really, really like understand what it meant. And yeah, I remember it being a really bad thing. And I remember thinking that, oh my God, like, is this really happening? Because prior to that, I don't think, well, I'm sure my parents had experienced like death. They knew people that had passed, but I hadn't experienced it. It wasn't something that I knew of. And it's something that you hear, but because it's so far from you, you just never really thought about it. So yeah, I remember the day, and I remember just, you know, everyone being very frantic and very upset. And I was okay because I just felt like my dad, like I'm very, very close with my dad, so I'm a proper daddy's girl. But my dad was like really, really strong on the day because everybody had like come back to our house. So this was like from the hospital because my sister, when she was, she had an accident, and she was in hospital for about 4 days. She was on life support, and I think my parents knew it was bad and it wasn't going to be like a positive end. But I was just, because I hadn't seen her, I saw her the day that she died. So I didn't know how bad it was. I hadn't seen her. Obviously, my parents like explained that, you know, she's, you know, on life support, but I didn't really I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I thought, I just thought she was going to get better. I think when you're a child, you're just so naive.
Yeah.
And like, I've always been brought up in faith. So in my mind, I just thought, I mean, we'll pray and she'll be fine.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
God does
exactly.
miracles all the time. He does, but I didn't realize like the like severity of her accident. And yeah, I mean, I went to see her in the hospital on the 4th day, and she just looked like, it just looked really bad. Like she was strapped up to machines. She had like a neck brace, like, because when she got hit, she fell and she landed on her head. So she had like internal bleed, like there was a lot of brain damage basically. And I think, you know, if they had kept the life machine on, she would have just been a vegetable. That's what the doctor said. So they said she had no prospects of like living a normal life after that, or looking after herself, or just doing, you know, the things that you do on a daily. But yeah, I mean, she looked very peaceful when I saw her. Obviously she wasn't like here physically, but yeah, I remember going home that day and just thinking, she can still be okay. And I think it's because she didn't have like so many like cuts and bruises.
Yeah.
I didn't realize like how bad it actually was. So I just thought, no, but she can still be okay. She can still be okay. And I feel like my parents made us see her on that day because they knew what was going to happen, that they were going to switch the life machine off. So they did. And then everyone came back to our house and everyone was like crying and screaming. And it was just very, very dramatic. And I mean, rightly so. But I still didn't really understand like why everyone was being like so dramatic. And then I remember like seeing my dad in the corner, very, very quiet. And I feel like, I mean, I'm African, I'm Nigerian, and men aren't really supposed to show emotion, grief. And I honestly hate it so much that men aren't allowed to be emotional. Men aren't allowed to mourn out loud. Men have to be like the strong ones. Even with like parents and stuff, they're supposed to be strong. They're not supposed to cry. And I just think, how can you tell a parent that's lost their child they're not supposed to cry? It's just such a weird, like, I don't champion that behavior at all. Like, I feel like as a culture or as a community, we need to move away from that and allow people to grieve the way they want to grieve.
Yeah.
Question I had is, do you think that's a problem now?
Yeah, it is. It is. My uncle, I think it was around last year, he lost his wife. So sad. He lost his wife to cancer and he's got 2 young kids. So we had gone to the house after we found out what had happened because she had cancer for a while. She got better and then all of a sudden it came back and she got bad. She deteriorated really quickly. So we'd gone to the house and I remember when my dad called, he was crying. Like, my dad's very, very emotional. Like, my dad is not someone that I've seen like hide his emotions over the years. I feel like I've seen my dad cry more than I've seen my mum cry.
Really?
My dad is very, very like in touch with his emotions.
That's quite
It's not common
yeah, because
at all.
Because I feel like the women like, cause I don't know, like I never really saw my dad like really. Nah, I didn't get the emotions. I got more so from my mum's side, and even still when we went for their funerals in Nigeria, I think my mum, I was a bit more like at ease, whereas my dad, I just remember one uncle telling me, look, like, you know, like us guys, we don't cry, like just be cool.
I don't.
And like I think
like that,
and I think
honestly.
because I was doing that, like I broke down.
But that's what's gonna happen because you're not allowed to express yourself, and I
But I don't know,
like it.
I don't know. I think I won't say
It's a
like it's
culture
right.
thing.
It's a culture thing because like I don't want to say it's a Nigerian thing, but I just feel like
It definitely is a Nigerian thing, but I think a lot of African cultures are like that as well.
I think Ghanaian as well.
your family, were they quite emotional?
Well, I think my dad was not as emotional. Like, I've never seen him cry, or probably my mum sometimes.
Wow.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's the environment that I grew up in. So what I saw is what I kind of just
yeah. I feel like it will change with our generation though,
I hope
because
so.
there's a lot more. So I don't want to throw you off your point, but
No.
I'll just say this last bit. I think there's a lot more. What's bad? Yeah, I know this sounds bad, but I feel like sometimes, especially with men, it takes something like either something really bad to happen or a breakdown for people to realize, actually, you know what, you're not even good. But I just feel like as men, maybe we just think certain things. Like, I know I do it, which is not good. You know what? It is what it is. Just kind of brush that, or just like, even with grief, at times I'll be like, nah, listen, you're not really supposed to. You're supposed to be over it by now to a certain extent. Like, so, but sometimes it's like you just get. It's tough, man. Like, it's hard.
Sometimes you probably won't even have the answers to talk about, you know, your grief, because it's something that you just don't understand or why it happens. So, you know,
yeah, I feel like
difficult.
As guy, I mean, I know I have a lot of friends now that I can speak to, you know, about certain things. But before it's like nah, maybe we just kind of leave that one and like just don't speak. We just kind of just get on with things. Whereas like well, not all. I feel like mostly. I feel like generally women are generally more like, it's not. I won't say easy, but it's kind of easier to kind of just have, because I don't know, you already have those friendships where you can speak to people. I'm not saying men don't, but we just, it's just like conditioning. We just, you have to just sort of like, not do, just kind of get on with things, push it to one side. And like, but I mean, it's interesting to say about your dad, because usually like, I feel like most like African men from our parents' generation, they were just stoic. They're not trying to, they're not trying to, you know, they're trying to just look after the family, and that's that. Everything else is more or less, we just leave it to one side. Let's kind of get on with it, or you know, we don't cry, like, you know, because like I said, I've never seen my dad cry. Probably seen my mum cry once, but yeah, it's just how I don't want to say just how it is, because it sounds very dismissive, but it's just I feel like it will change, but it's just how it is, and but I feel it's opening up to the right people as well, and I think that's always usually like, I don't say a man thing, but I feel like that's another big thing where like, it's not just about opening up, but we want to make sure like, you know, if we're open up to someone, it's not going to be, I don't know, like used against us, or someone's gonna, you know, make us feel bad for, you know, said thing. And it happens a lot, you know, like, I feel like as men, we don't talk about certain things, whether it's to do with health or just how things, because it's kind of like not a taboo, but maybe we don't know how to, you know, I don't know, or the right people. Whereas like, I mean, do you feel like you're very like vulnerable amongst friends, or is that been easier for you because you've seen your dad being quite vulnerable?
Do you mean in terms of me being vulnerable?
Yeah, because you said you're like a daddy's girl, so so I feel like because you well, I don't know if there's a correlation, but because your dad's has been or you're known to showing emotions. So it's easier for you. I mean, I don't want to assume, but would you feel like it's easier for you to show emotions because you've seen your
I'm naturally like quite a sensitive person, so I'm
Yeah.
very, very in touch with my emotions. I feel like my mum is the one that tells me you need to get it together.
Really?
I'm such a crybaby. I cry over almost anything. Like I can watch a film, I'll be crying. Go to weddings, cry. I cry a lot. Like I'm.
I mean, those are fine. Yeah, because that's
No.
tears of joy, man. Do you know what I mean? That's
Well,
tears of joy.
sometimes, but I can be watching a film. Like I had to stop watching Grey's Anatomy because every episode.
What season are you on?
I'm on season, I want to say 12 or 13. I had to stop though because literally every other episode, I mean, I'm wailing in tears, and it's just not good. No
You
one
know
should be
what?
crying
I
that much.
was getting annoyed, because I'm not gonna lie, because there were some moments where I thought, why did you have to
Why
did you have to
killing
kill them
off
off?
everybody?
I know you're not, because I'm on 18.
Oh, okay, yeah,
18.
we're not the same.
But who was it? No, when George died.
When George died, that was the
that
start
was
of
sad,
my
man.
heartbreak. When Lexi died, and
I like Lexi and what?
When Lexi died, and what's this guy's name? The one that was Mark.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I feel
like that was even I don't know what happened, but I feel like obviously the way Lexi, that was bad.
So bad.
But I feel like how they ended it with Mark was that
you didn't even know he died until because because he was okay. He came back to the hospital. He was getting treatment, and then he just died out of nowhere. And I just thought I didn't mentally prepare for that.
That was sad,
too
man.
much.
Like I feel like Meredith, she's been through so much grief. Yeah, like that's
so much.
Like that show that is so good, but at the same time, listen, you need to watch that. It's not for the faint-hearted, man. Because I'll shed that tear a few times.
Ready for your emotions to just go on.
Even This Is Us, but I stopped This Is Us because that was getting too much, man.
I stopped it as well, but apparently it's getting really good. So I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna see if I can pick it up this weekend because I loved it so much, and then that made me cry quite a bit.
What season did you did you stop at?
So the season that's now. I haven't watched that season, but I'm
okay.
I think there's one new season that I haven't watched.
How many seasons are there? It's gone on for quite a while.
I think there's 6, I believe, maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7. I think it's 6.
Why so many episodes?
I know, but it's
no, I stopped where the dad came out the house when because I think he tried to get the cat for the daughter.
You're still in the beginning.
Is that the first season?
That's still, I want to say, still early seasons. Yeah, you still got a lot to go.
Oh yes,
you still got
that bit was
so much has happened.
I was annoyed because I feel like I don't know, man. You didn't have to go back for the cat, man.
Yeah, he didn't, because that's what gave him the poisoning, didn't it?
And I'm not saying I blame the daughter, but I was a bit annoyed with her for a little while. I'm not gonna lie. I know that's
no need.
Yes, and I felt did I stop at that? I can't remember. But I feel like it's so crazy because all their grief is different.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of see who's affecting it the most. And I think sometimes it does depend on how maybe close you were with the person. So I feel like that's one kind of feel. I feel like with grief is like. I don't know if it's proven somewhere of this that stats or whatever, but I feel like the closer you are to the person, the deep I feel like the harder it is, and like because even with me like I feel like my mum's death more that hits me more than my dad. Not saying I don't care about my dad, I do, but that is my mum. That one was just I don't know, man. It was just that one just cut deeper now. So I think that one always. So sometimes people, I think for a while, people was like, "Oh, I didn't know you lost both parents," because I was always talking about my mum.
Your mum, yeah.
So I feel like that. I mean, but of course, I mean, it's not a good way to go by not getting close to people. But I feel like I always think about that. The closer I am to people, or even close friends or more family, and it's that anxiety of like I don't lose any more people, but it's not in my control.
That is so sad.
Do you know what I mean? Like that sounds mad to say, but it's not.
But
do you know what I mean?
Hear it. It's so sad.
So
sad.
But then it's like how do you kind of live like maintain a healthy mentality of still living your life knowing that yes, grief probably hasn't stopped. I was like, even after my mum that passed, I was like, listen, God, it's been a horrible year losing my dad, but please let that be the last grief. And then it's like I remember on the day I found out the news, I remember just like I thought, okay, yeah, she's in hospital, cool, it's gonna be fine, and like. I don't know. I already like someone was. I think my aunt was telling me that Nigerian hospitals are not always great.
No, they're not.
And it's just yeah. So even with that, I think for a while I was like, oh gosh, okay, like they gave her the wrong blood, and I think things went down from there. And even still, I still had hope. I was like, you know, okay, I think she'll come around. You
Did your
know,
parents live in Nigeria?
my dad did, but my mum, she was just out there on
Okay.
on holiday. So I remember just praying like I was like, God, please, you know what? I know it's cheeky praying because I didn't at the time I wasn't praying every day, but if you just this one thing,
Yeah.
then it'll be all good. And I was thinking, hang on, like, but I don't know. That's just not again. That's another thing. That's not how it works. And I could say like, oh, God's teaching me something. Probably, maybe I'll find out now or later. Who knows, innit? But I'm just like, that was just kind of crazy to like. I didn't expect it to be so soon. I know like as we get older, I don't want to say that God willing your parents will live.
Amen. Amen.
You know what I mean?
But they're getting
But
older.
but it's just something I didn't think it would be now. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Maybe like as I get older, maybe
When they're
40s,
really
50s.
old.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not so now. So I think that was a hard thing. But I think again, not to say that there's been positives from it, but I feel that a silver lining was obviously me and Ben and just trying to just have a space because I just felt like there wasn't a lot. I didn't see a lot of people around me who had been going through this, and
Yeah.
and even just like I don't want to say like black grief, but yeah, I just didn't see it. So we just thought, initially it was just a podcast for us to just talk about anything with regards to our grief, but then
Yeah.
after a while, shortly, we just wanted to start speaking to more people, and so yeah, so it's been good, like, but obviously it's bittersweet because at the end of the day,
So
I would like my parents back, but you know what I mean. But
yeah.
it's
A question I had for both of you is, when you go through grief, did it make you think why do bad things happen to good people, or was it more of the start, or or why me,
I think it was why me, definitely for me. Why me? And sometimes you realize like you can say, oh, I can say I'm a good person. That's all subjective, isn't it? I can be, oh yeah, I help, I open the door for people, I help already cross the road or do this but it doesn't guarantee
It's
that.
not really gonna mean anything.
Do you know what I mean? So
unless you're a good person.
it's just like a self-pity of like, oh, okay, like, but like, why me? Like, why both parents in a, like, surely, like, God, like, it's something up. You trying to, is this some sort of punishment? But then again, that's just, I guess it's normal to, obviously, like, as a Christian, I'm not saying, I think it's normal to question things. I'm not saying that, I wouldn't say like I lost faith, but I was just like, "Bro, like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean?" And at that time, like, I was 25, so I'm like, I don't know, is this supposed to happen? Like, this is not part of the plan. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say? Just as you grow up, you just think, okay, you know what, uni, job, that in that order,
Life.
but you don't really think, okay, bang, grief, have to deal with that, mental health, and then I don't know. So yeah, I'll definitely say it was for me. It was why me? Like, I don't know what was it like for you?
I think for me it was more so why do bad things happen to good people? Because my sister was like I say she was like the perfect child.
Yeah.
She did so much around the house. Like she was literally like the second mum in the house. There's 10 years between us, so we weren't very close. And that's why when you were saying before that, the closer you are, it affects you more. I can definitely attest to that because I feel like my sister's grief affected my older brother. They were extremely close.
Oh, okay.
And my dad. And I feel like the reason why it affected my dad quite a bit was because obviously that's his first child, his daughter, but also because the relationship was a bit strained. So just, when you get to a certain age, you might have been a daddy's girl before and then things start to change. And I mean, I've definitely gone through that period with my dad. Like growing up, I was literally, we were best friends. And then I was getting older and then we started having our little, do you know what I mean? Our little tiffs. And then obviously we worked through that, thank God. And we're in a much better space now. But I just think it's just age. We're different genders. Naturally, I start getting closer to my mum because she's a woman, she gets it. And then my dad just doesn't get it anymore. So I feel like for them to affected them the most. But my sister was, in the church. She was in the choir, always in church. Just really, really, she had her head down, focusing on uni because she was in uni at the time, studying accounting. She had a part-time job. Like I don't know what else she could have been doing. Do you know what I mean? She was literally living the way any parent would want their daughter to live. And I just think, why would something like that happen to her, of all people? Someone that was in the church, she had a relationship with Christ, and this was even before I even knew what the meaning of having a relationship with Christ was, because obviously you go to church every Sunday with your parents, but it was not something that was
that's
personal
just
to me.
because it's like your parents tell you, yeah, we're going to church.
We're going to church.
Do you have a relationship?
Do you know what I mean?
You're young, innit? Do you know
exactly.
what
I mean? So yeah, she really, I mean, she did what she needed to do. So I just didn't understand why that would happen to her. And I feel like her death only kind of started, I started to accept it a bit later, because I just thought, oh, so this means I'm never going to see her again. Oh, we're just never going to hear from her again, because I didn't really understand that whole, we're just never going to, obviously I knew at the time that something bad was happening, but I didn't realize that it was kind of like final, like this is actually it. I'm never going to see her again. We're never going to hear from her again. She's just gone. So I feel like when I accepted that, then it became quite difficult when I thought, oh, this is really what death is. Like, it's just like the worst thing ever. And, I'm very grateful that after my sister died, I didn't really experience loss so much up until, I'd say, my adult years. I feel like in the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years, quite a few people have died. And I think because I've gone through my sister passing, I don't know, I feel like with every death, everything's different. Do you know what I mean? Like, I might have reacted more to deaths that happened recently than when my sister died, but I think that's just because of age. The older you get, the more mature you are, you really understand what death is. So if I'm like dramatic, throwing myself, and I didn't do that for my sister, was because back then I didn't really understand what was going on. Obviously I was sad, and I could see like everybody around me was sad, because I saw my dad was okay. So the day that we found out, my dad was like in the corner, and he didn't say anything. He wasn't crying. He was very like composed. So when I saw my dad, I thought, okay, everyone's crying, but my dad's okay. So we're going to be fine. Because like my dad's like the head of the house. So I've just gone to him. I said, Daddy, are you okay? Like, I was fine. I was like, Daddy, are you okay? Then he was just like, yeah, I'm okay. And I was like, okay, we're going to be okay. God's in control.
This is when you was 9.
When I was 9.
I
I was very mature.
That's quite clued up on that.
Extremely mature. And I feel like I was
That's a
very
smart
mature
9-year-old.
because, no, but literally, I'm not even like, I remember the conversation so clearly, because I just felt like I was very mature, but I think it's because I was really close to my dad. So my dad, sometimes, parents they're not so honest with their kids, because you want to like shelter your kids. I don't really think I got that. I can't lie. Like, my dad used to give me the real, like,
but like, it's a balance though, because that can backfire, and
exactly.
It can
and I just feel like sometimes
wonders.
You didn't have to tell me so much, because I'm naturally someone that worries a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe my dad could have done a bit more to, let me say, protect my innocence. But I knew like what was going on in the house. I knew if my parents were in a disagreement, I would know. And those are the kind of things you hide from kids. But that was never hidden from me. Like, my dad would always be very honest to me. Like, I was like, we had like sessions where we just talk about life. So in that moment,
though, man.
Years old.
I know, no, literally, even before 9, like, I was very close to my dad, so we'd always like talk about stuff, and he would always say, don't worry, as you get older, you understand these things more. As you get older, I'll tell you more. And I'm just thinking, tell me now, like, I understand, I'm ready. But yeah, so that day I was just like, Daddy, are you okay? Like, are you fine? And he said, yeah, I'm fine. I said, okay, good, just stay strong. We're gonna be okay. Like, everything's gonna be fine. God's in control. And I remember, I think I left the room, or I must have like tapped his soldiers, and I left, and I came back. And I could just see my dad crying. Like, I feel like he held it together because I was there. Then he just literally broke down. This is while everyone was there. So then I ran to him, and I was like, what's wrong, Dad? You literally just said everything's going to be okay. And then I broke down. Literally, seeing my dad break down is what made me literally cry. Because I thought, if my dad is crying, we literally have, like, how are we going to get through this? Because if my dad is okay, then we're all okay. Because like, my dad is, my dad. But if my dad is crying, then this is really bad. I don't know how we're going to like move forward. But yeah, he was really, really upset. And I know it really, really affected my dad so much. Like, just, yeah, so much. But I mean, he's...
Your memory is sharp. Like, I'm thinking how you remember all these stuff from 9.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I remember. But I feel like when things happen, because I mean, I did psychology at A-level, but I do know that when things happen, like traumatic things happen, you remember them. I remember things from when I was 2. So I burnt my arm when I was 2 in Nigeria. I burnt my arm. I spilt hot oil on my arm. I remember that day clearly, and that's because that was trauma. Literally, my hand was frying. But you tend to remember trauma. Doesn't matter how old you are or how young you were. There's certain memories you just can't shake because It was so traumatizing. Like, you can't forget it. So that day I remember very clearly that it was an evening time, and it was just such a, seeing my dad break down really is what, just made me think, oh, this is not good. This is just not going to be a good day. And I remember at the funeral, my parents didn't come because, parents
Yeah.
aren't
Oh,
supposed to be
is
at
that
funerals.
Okay.
It's sorry. I don't want to throw you off just quickly
No.
because I used to think that was because I'm Benin, so like
Okay.
so with my mum's funeral, my dad's funeral, so the elder brothers didn't come. My mum's funeral, so my grandparents didn't come, and my uncle, who's like the eldest out of all the siblings, he couldn't come. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that was a
Yeah.
um
So in Nigerian culture, and I feel like maybe in other cultures too, I'm not too sure, but in Nigerian culture, generally your children, you're not supposed to know where they're buried, because the idea is that you're supposed to die before your
yeah
children. So you're never supposed to know their grave, because you shouldn't be alive when they die. So that's why my parents couldn't go, because they're not supposed to know when my sister is buried. I feel like probably same with like older siblings, you just expect things to go naturally in terms of like age, the oldest will pass first, not the youngest. So
exactly.
an older sibling burying their younger sibling is a bit, it's not really meant to happen. But I mean, she was the eldest, to be fair. I guess even if it was, she wasn't the eldest, we'd probably all still be there, because that was
Yeah.
our sister. But yeah, they weren't there on the day of the funeral. Obviously, some aunties and uncles were there. My dad wrote like he wrote like a speech, and someone read it out on his behalf. Like, different, all of us kind of said something. I remember my auntie telling me beforehand, you guys shouldn't go there and be crying. Don't be crying when you get there.
Really?
Like, you need to don't make sure you don't go there and start crying. And I just thought, okay, cool. I'm gonna, try my very best to be strong. That day it rained so much, like it was pouring. I remember what I was wearing. I was wearing some little chicken heels. Like, it's just ridiculous. The mud got all in my shoes. It was raining so much, and I just remember in the actual like chapel, obviously I said I can't even remember what I said, but I said something, and then like different people read out different things, and I remember feeling very emotional when I was sat down. And then my dad, whoever, I can't remember who read out what my dad said, but they read it out, and most of it was in English, and at the bottom part was in Yoruba. And I think the last thing he said was like, like, who did I offend? To like, why did this happen to me? Who did I offend? And I remember just at that moment, everybody started crying, like wailing. Like, it was my dad's speech that literally set everybody off in that chapel. It was just loud and wailing. It was just so much.